Hi everyone, Diane here. Today I'm going to be talking about the paints that I use, largely, with a brief mention of some of the paper that I use as well. Today is the challenge day 25 and the subject is Owl's Eyes Glowing in a Full Moon, and we will look at that at the end of this video. But I thought it was probably a good time now to start drawing together the threads of this challenge, Light Out of Darkness, which to me has been a very important month actually. Pulling together some ideas and trying things out I've never done before and using paints that I have neglected for a while. And I thought I'd share that with you, the things that I've found over the last 3 years since I've had this channel, which have made my life more interesting from the point of view of painting. Now, when I first started with the channel, I was using my time-honoured traditional method of painting. And that meant I was using a large tray like this, which is we call them butcher's trays in England, because the butchers use them for displaying meat on in their shops. And what I did and still do is my tube paints, which I keep in a drawer beside me, which are like these ones, you know what tube paints look like, of course. I select a palette, which to me a palette means a range of colours, on a palette, which to me means a tray, and then I lay them out in the order that seems appropriate to me. So we've got the blues and the reds and the yellows and the greens, and that's my basic palette, and that's what I was using to start with, and they were mostly Winsor & Newton and Schmincke and a few Daniel Smith. But then I soon found out that there were other things that I could use too, and so I heartily recommend that technique, and you'll see me using that from time to time. But you can't do everything, can you? And then I was approached by something completely different. The first people to approach me were, believe it or not, Viviva from India. And I've mentioned these often. And I want to say that the links to all of these things that I use will be underneath this video when it goes up in the description. So you'll be able to follow them through. And I'll mention it if we have an affiliate, and we do have affiliate with Viviva. So if you feel like supporting us in a small way on our channel, then I am very grateful for your support. And to buy a set of these is quite inexpensive, and they are a lot of fun. You probably have seen me use this pan. I prefer the pan to the sheets. Personally, it's just a personal thing, but the sheets are helpful and useful, and when we travel, they're handy. But this is very handy too. It's made of cork, and it's really light, so it weighs nothing, basically, a couple of grams or ounces. And in it, it has got all of these colours, 16 colours, and with that you can paint a very vibrant painting. And just recently we did the Arizona sunset or sunrise in these, and you will have noticed how vibrant it was. And there's no problem with getting the colour to stay. They don't fade back as badly as some of the traditional watercolour paints. Winsor & Newton are particularly prone to losing about, I would say 10 to 20% of their brightness when they dry, which is a bit, it's a thing you have to live with. So anyway, so I came across these because they contacted me, and I started to use them. I was quite excited by it, and I realised there was more to life than what I'd been doing for the previous 35, 40 years. Or more. So let's put that over there. A bit later on, I received some Christmas presents from people, and one very kind lady sent me for Christmas one year a set of the Gallow paints. This was the first Christmas after we started. She sent me half of these paints. We later received the other half from Gallow, and really, I should use these more often. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. They don't support me in any way, but they are very nice paints. I'm happy to recommend them. You can't go wrong. They're handmade in Italy by Americans, actually, who set up over there. And a lot of people have bought them from my recommendation and from other places as well. You contact them on their website in Italy, and you wait until they have them in stock, and then you have the privilege of receiving them. And the next painting I do, I'm going to use those because I haven't used them for ages and they are lovely. So that's a Gallow, handmade in Italy. While we're on the subject of handmade, I also have more recently, this year in fact, done a collaboration with Victoria Hilbrecht, who is originally from China, but she's a German national now. And she does the same as a Gallow. She makes her own paints in Cologne in Germany. And she uses honey as her humidifier, humectant. And they're completely, and so do a Gallow, by the way. These are completely handmade, hand-poured, everything. She does it all herself, all by herself, all on her own. She's 32 years old. She's very hardworking and she deserves our support. Her paints are not what I would call bargain basement price, but this is a collaboration that we did where this set, I chose the colours that came in the set. You can buy them on her website as my collaborative set. I chose these colours because I thought they would be particularly good for floral painting. And indeed they are. And they're lovely, they're very intense, they're much better on the paper than they look in the tin. And if you feel like treating yourself and giving yourself something special as a late Christmas present, then I would not try to stop you from purchasing those. Again, the information is in the description below. So that's VH Aquarelle, she calls herself. And while we're at that, what else have we got? Meeden then contacted us, and since since they contacted us, we have had an absolute avalanche of things sent to us from China. We've got everything, and they've sent me easels and chests of drawers and all sorts of things that I can't possibly use. But they are a great company, and you will not be disappointed if you order through them. Their customer service is really good, and their products are excellent. For the money, for the price, I don't think you can go far wrong. I'm going to talk about them a little bit. This is my favourite palette from them. It's a nice square one. Then there's this one, which is round, and this is also great. It's got lots of spaces and mixing and everything. These are super to have. I use them all the time. They also do a mixing tray, which is just a flat plate like this. And they do the daisy ones. And they're all good solid ceramic. They don't bead up, so they're really good for mixing paint in. And then there's this one, which is the Studio palette, which comes with a lid. And I actually use the lid to keep my Kuretake paints in, which is another story. So we'll come to that in a minute. But these are these Meeden tube paints, which you can squeeze into your palettes like this. And then, you know, you can leave them there and you just activate them by putting a little water on using a spray bottle, and Bob's your uncle, you're ready to go. These are about $17 for the set, which is, in my opinion, a ludicrously low price for what are basically, in my opinion, almost as good as Winsor & Newton, definitely as good as Cotman, Winsor & Newton Cotman, or any of the other student grade paints. My opinion, for what it's worth, is that there are basically 3 grades of paint, watercolor paint. There is professional grade, which is things like the Daniel Smith, the M. Graham, the Sennelier, the Schminker. All of them, they do a professional grade, which come with a guarantee of light fastness, a guarantee of purity, fineness of particle, guarantee of chemical neutrality. They won't fade, they won't go a different color. They're totally reliable. They're not chalky because they don't have any filler in them, only pigment and binder. And that's a professional grade paint, which you can rely on to be, you know, archival. Then there's student quality paint, which all of those manufacturers make as well as the Chinese, which have come in and do the same, but they also have professional quality paint, the Chinese too. So there's an overlap there. But so you have professional, then you have student quality, which are slightly less good. But you will find that if you buy student quality paint from somebody like Winsor & Newton, or indeed Meeden, you will also get light proof and distortion proof and basically archival quality, but maybe not quite so much pigment in the paints, maybe a little bit of filler, maybe not quite such spectacular grinding of the pigment, so it's not quite so fine perhaps. The quality will be slightly less. That's student grade. And then there are craft grade, I would like to call them, or children's quality, the sort of thing that you can buy for absolute cheap as chips. I don't think I've got any like that, but I know they exist. And a lot of people think that they're quite good and you can use those as well as you can other paint. I don't think that's necessarily true because I know they will fade. And you don't really want that except for practice work. So there's a space in your studio for all of those levels of quality, I think. Okay, so I'm going to look at a couple of Chinese ones now that I've been sent, and which you will have seen reviewed by people like Lindsay Wyrich, who has talked about these a lot. This is the Chow Mei watercolor set. This is very good. I would, if this had been available when my kids were young, I would have bought this for them as a set to use, and they would have been thrilled with it. In fact, Tamsin, even though she's old now, she quite liked this, and she's used this a few times for her painting. It's just a duplicate of this, really, in pans. Nothing wrong with it at all. If you want to buy that one and enjoy that one, it's a nice palette box. It's not a tin, it's plastic. That's for some people good, for some people not good. Nothing wrong with that at all. I like that. And then the other one that I was sent was the My Lang set. Again, if you've got a granddaughter who wants to learn to paint, my goodness me, wouldn't you have been thrilled with this when you were 10? Oh, yes, indeed, I would. It's even got these wonderful pearlescent colours here, which are beautiful. And I haven't used this one. Tamsin has. Nothing wrong with it. It's great. Lovely. Can't argue with that, but student grade. And then I've got, so that's student grade. The Chow Mei is student grade. And then here we've got the Paul Rubens. This is considered to be professional grade. They told me. Artist quality. Same thing. Looks a lot like a box of the Gallow, these ones here, doesn't it? Looks very similar, and they're very intense. They're great. There's nothing wrong with them. If you like a pan, that's excellent. If you like a tube, then we've got this one from Paul Rubens, Artist Watercolor. This is considered to be their professional tube range. And I've used these a couple of times. There's just not enough time in the day to use all these paints every day, but these are good as well. And there's a very good range of colours. I swatched them out. If you look back through our videos, you'll see me swatching these out, and they seem very similar to all the other Chinese colours. And they're all, I'm sure, using the same pigments from the same factories. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So I can vouch for these paints as being absolutely fine for the sort of work that you and I are doing. Then I'm going to talk just very briefly about my favourite, really, which happened to be Japanese. This is the Kuretake set. They have a set of, I think they've got 18, 36, 48 set. This is the 48 set, which I have removed from its box, which is this one. I've taken it out of its box because I don't like using it in here. They live inside this. and they're all in rows here, which is fine at the beginning, but I soon found that it was more convenient for me to take them all out, and I've arranged them around the outside edge of a tray. This happens to be the lid to this palette, this Meeden palette. It happens to be the lid. I've turned it upside down, and I've just blue tacked the pans all around the outside edge. There's two missing there because I've borrowed those to put with the other set of theirs, which is the Art Nouveau set. And this is absolutely beautiful for painting flowers and things like that. Lovely colours, really nice. And my set that's in use is in another tray. This is such a good way of arranging them. If you do this, you'll find that you use them much more often. In fact, you might never go back to any of the other ones, but these are Japanese. And this is a traditional type of Japanese watercolour, which is a little bit more, it's not like gouache because it's completely transparent when you put water with it, but you can use it quite dry and it will become more opaque. So for me, this is a very good paint. I like to use that opacity sometimes in my paintings because that's just my style. So I find that Kuretake works for me really well, although I still use my traditional paints in my little dishes. I did yesterday, and I will, and so on and so forth. But anyway, this is a wonderful range. These two belong with the other set. If I can get those out, I'll replace them in the other set. I can't get them out. There we go. So that's two spaces there, which I use occasionally. I borrow ones from the 48 set and paint with this plus. I've also got in here the Kuretake graphite set, and these are the metallics from the 48 set, which are very good, very, very good. Don't overlook those. If you've got the 48 set, don't overlook the metallic white, gold and bronze or whatever it is. They are really very good, very strong and intense and not at all cheap and nasty. Thank you, Zen. Okay, so that's Kuretake. And I think that's about it. I think we've gone through everything. Now, generally speaking, at the moment, I'm painting with you on Meeden watercolour paper. The reason being that I do have an affiliation with Meeden, and they have sent me lots of paper, and I like it. This paper that they've sent me is a new range to them. They started with small pads like this in cold press, and now they have cold, hot and rough, and they have it in three sizes, 12 by 9, 10 by 7 and 7 by 5, and in the three surfaces. And it's what they call a watercolour block, which means that it's on a very thick cardboard backing, which stops it from bending. That's very important. Some blocks aren't on such thick card. I mean, look how thick that is. And it doesn't bend at all. And the paper is glued all the way around on the outside edge here, with the exception of a small space here where you can slide a knife in to separate the sheets when you have painted on it. There seems to be something going around at the moment where people think that you should take the paper off the block and then paint on it. That destroys the whole purpose of the block. The purpose of the block is so that the paper doesn't bend. It won't bend. It doesn't bend. I can guarantee you it won't. You might get a very slight, if you use a lot of water, you might get a slight cockling around this part here where the opening is, but it won't bend. It'll stay flat. You paint on it while it's on the block. Then when it's dry completely, you take it off, and that works. There are other ways of stretching paper, but this is the simplest way of having your paper stretched. It can be very aggravating if you paint on even expensive paper like arches and you think, oh, I'll stick it down around the outside edge with washi tape or masking tape or something. And it doesn't hold because as soon as you use a lot of water, that gets underneath the tape and the whole thing comes off. So the proper way of doing that is to use brown tape, where you stick the paper to the board and everything. I've got a video on that. And then you paint on it while it's still on the board. You don't take it off of the board once you've stuck it down. That would be, again, that goes against the whole purpose of it. that's what you do. So anyway, you can find a video on that on YouTube, and you can see what I do, and that's the proper way to do it. If you choose to do it a different way, that's up to you, but there's the right way and a wrong way of doing everything, and that's the right way. Okay, so that's that. I think that's enough about paint and paper. Like I said, everything's in the description below if you're interested in acquiring any of these things. If you go to our Amazon shop and find what you're looking for by following one of our links, we benefit from that as well. So if you are keen to support us on our journey as well as yourself on your journey, then we are very grateful for that. Every little helps, and it does make a big difference, and it means that we can continue to produce these videos which are free for you to watch and listen to and enjoy, and etc, etc. And if I sound a little bit distracted, it's because the tree surgeon has just arrived with his truck, and they look like a couple of druids, and bearded and short and Breton, and they are going to take down one of our oak trees, which has unfortunately been too badly damaged in the storm to be able to survive. So I'll show you that in a minute, probably at the end of this film, some pictures which I'm going to take shortly. So yes, now owls. I have painted 2 owls for your enjoyment here, and you can use these to inspire yourself on your attempt at today. These are, I think, are they called short-eared owls and a horned owl, I think, not sure, not barn owls. This was quite fun. I enjoyed doing this. And the eyes are the thing, trying to work out how to do the eyes so that they look as if they are slightly glowing. The barn owl's eyes are basically very, very, very pupil-oriented because they tend to have very good night sight. So you don't see much of this golden on the barn owl. So they're not ideal for this painting, which is supposed to be an owl's eyes glowing in the moonlight. I did a little tiny moon on that one because I didn't have space for anything bigger. On this one, I rather like this composition. So I have for you, to help you along on this, I've done sketches of these, which will be available for you to download if you want on the website, and they're free, and you can go over there and get those to get you started. And then you, oh, this is nothing to do with that. Yeah, so you've got those available. And in terms of colours, if you want to know what I used for my colours, I was using these little round dishes, which I've used a lot. I love these. This is, and then I used on here, I have burnt sienna, quinacridone gold, that's olive green, that's irrelevant. We have lamp black, we have phthalo blue or indigo. This one is actually buff titanium from Daniel Smith, mixed with a bit of, I think that's ultramarine. And I used that for some of the greys on this one, and probably that one too. And other colours that you could use would be, did I say phthalo blue or indigo? Yes, these are the same. This is Naples yellow. You could have used that for the moon. I think that's buff titanium, I think, mixed with a bit of quinacridone gold, but you could easily use Naples yellow. Purple, white. I did use a bit of white here to correct something that didn't quite work out. So you can use P.H. Martin's, Talons, or Winsor & Newton Designer's gouache, or any other gouache. What's her name? Meeden make a good set of gouache as well, which is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. And so there we are. That's what I used for that. And what else do I want to say? Probably nothing. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And I'm not going to show you myself painting it. I might do a video for it a bit later, but I would like you to go for this entirely of your own inspiration and see what you can make of it. By all means, use the sketches and then paint the birds your way, probably using something similar to my colour range, unless you want to go completely off the wall and do something more abstract in which case you might want to use completely random colours. I find that very hard to do, actually. I often start out thinking I'm going to paint this hair, for example. I did that a while back. I'm going to paint it in completely unrealistic colours. And I did, but it doesn't come naturally to me. Some artists do that all the time, but it doesn't come naturally to me. But if that's your thing, these paints are good for that. The Viviva colours are good for that, because you can flick through here and just randomly look at that peacock blue. Look at that. What colour do you think that is? Just pick up a little bit of that and surprise yourself. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that colour. Isn't that spectacular? Yeah. You can't go wrong with the Meeden, with these if you want bright colours. So anyway, enough from me. I'll let you go. I need to go and film this guy as he chops down our tree. And I'll see you again soon. So I'll say bye-bye for now, from me. Bye-bye from the owls. And have a great day and enjoy. See you soon. Bye now.